Well, I think it's an outstanding announcement for the company. Obviously, this is a huge component of any airplane to have the propulsion system determined, and they've clearly been working on this for quite some time, and have a very an excellent plan in place. It seems to me to move forward, and this is just part of the development of any airplane. You could go back to any manufacturer, and they go through this same thing.
So in this instance, how much did you know about the suppliers that they've announced today?
Did not. They actually kept this very tight-lipped right until really last night. I found out.
I mean, I'm sorry, but how much do you know about the companies themselves in terms of what they're going to provide to Boom?
Those companies are well-known companies in the aerospace world in terms of suppliers. They may not be household names in terms of what people hear as the final product, the final engine manufacturer, but these are companies who work for a lot of those engine manufacturers. It makes total sense to me.
And the day announcement, how does that affect timelines here?
As you saw, Blake pretty much laid out that the only real delay was that it would push back the rollout into 26, and that's from 25. So don't really think that that's any big deal. We're finished grading their site at this point. They're going to start building construction as they've said early next year, and we'll keep on moving forward.
And then what are you hearing about? I know that they're all ultimately going to be the ones creating the jobs and hiring jobs, but what have you heard in terms of things like today? Will they be made here, or are they still up in the air?
Yeah, I think that the decisions as to where these components end up getting made are still to be had. Obviously the first thing they have to do is develop the product itself, and then from there you move into deciding where it is that you're going to mass manufacture something like that. So that's yet to be seen.
And at this point, now that there's more certainty about what's going on, are you expecting to hear more from companies who would like to be close by to Boom in terms of property on the airport or in Triad? Now there's more of a sense of permanency?
Well, yeah, so the OEMs of the world, original equipment manufacturers, are our number one target to bring to the airport. And the reason for that is OEMs bring with them all the suppliers that come with them. Some of the larger airplanes in the world have millions of parts on them, 3, 4, 5 million parts on them. And every single one of those parts has to be made by somebody. And in recent years, the OEMs have really focused a lot on bringing that supply chain in closer to them to avoid problems with the supply chain, and any issues that they might have can be resolved locally as opposed to a global provider of some product that they've got to ship back across the country or the oceans.
And so I guess that's another thing that seems to be a positive factor if there are silver linings from the pandemic, is that those decisions to bring the supply chain closer to home. So the reason I bring that up is also we had an example of Dell a number of years ago, and the hope and the promise of additional ancillary type jobs that never really came to pass. So in this instance, do you feel like between the supply chain challenges and just wanting to be close will benefit not only the airport but surrounding areas?
Yes, I do. I mean, I think that the aerospace industry has, after watching some examples of the major manufacturers and the way they outsourced parts and their supply chains over the last 20 years, has led most of them to want to bring that pipeline closer to the final assembly location. And as a result, I think that means that any OEM locating here is going to benefit the community in spades as the suppliers and providers to those companies locate here as well.
And the last question, is there any overlap whatsoever that you'll see between Boom and Toyota and VinFast in terms of suppliers?
I don't know the answer to that question, but these are all mechanical products, and I'm sure that things like metallic things, connectors, assembly pieces may well be provided by the same companies. I just don't know.